We are continuing with our review of the standard Texas contract to close home sale process, and what happens with your home sale process after your option period ends. If you haven't watched the introduction and vocabulary video yet, we strongly recommend starting there first. In that video, we discussed the major players involved in your transaction, including the lender, title company, escrow officer, loan processor, insurance agent, and your real estate agent. We also discussed common terms such as appraisal, survey, title commitment, disclosures, escrow, and cash to close. Those terms are about to start appearing in your emails, so understanding the language now will make the rest of the process much easier. We also strongly recommend reviewing the free guide Elena published called, How to Save Thousands Before, During, and After the Purchase of Your Home. That guide contains money-saving strategies related to lenders, inspections, surveys, appraisals, negotiations, contractors, taxes, insurance, and closing costs. Many of the topics we'll discuss throughout this video series are covered in greater detail in that guide. If you don't already have a copy, please contact Elena Garrett and request one as soon as possible. Now, let's discuss what will happen in the first 5 to 7 days after your option period ends. We will call this time period Week 1. This is a fairly detailed video. If you just want a list of items to do during this week, please skip to the end of the video where an executive summary will be provided. The main purpose of Week 1 is to get the transaction moving. This is the week where the lender starts working on your loan file, the title company starts researching the property, insurance quotes begin coming in, and several important deadlines begin running at the same time. Most of the work this week will actually be performed by the lender and title company teams. The day after your option period ends is a good time to verify that your lender has received a fully executed copy of the contract and that your lender and agent have each other's contact information. Most of the time this happens automatically. However, confirming communication early can prevent unnecessary delays later. Your job is to stay organized, respond quickly, and understand what stage the transaction has reached. If you're obtaining a mortgage, one of the first things that will happen is the start of underwriting. Underwriting is the lender's process for verifying your income, assets, debts, employment, and overall eligibility for the loan program you're using. The details of underwriting deserve their own discussion, so we've created a separate video dedicated entirely to that subject. For now, simply understand that underwriting is officially beginning. If you're buying the property with cash and not obtaining financing, you can ignore most lender-related activities and focus on the title, survey, insurance, and closing portions of the transaction. One question many buyers ask during the first week is when the appraisal will be ordered. The answer depends on your lender, your loan program, and where your file is in the underwriting process. Some lenders order appraisals immediately. Others wait until certain underwriting questions have been answered. The important thing is to ask your lender what timeline they expect and whether there is anything that could delay the appraisal. At the same time, the title company will begin its work. The title company will open your file, begin researching the ownership history of the property, request HOA documents if applicable, and prepare something called a buyer information sheet. The buyer information sheet helps the title company verify you and your co-purchasers' names, contact information, marital status, vesting information, and other details needed to prepare closing documents correctly. When the title company asks you to complete this form, do not put it aside for later. Complete it and return it as quickly as possible. One of the most important things that may arrive during the first week is the title commitment. You learned about title commitments in the previous video. Think of this as the title company's preliminary report on the property. If HOA documents become available during the first week, review them as soon as possible. If any title documents become available during the first week, review them as soon as possible. Feel free to call your escrow officer to explain their content and significance. There is a reason why reviewing title documents and the HOA documents promptly is so important. In most standard Texas purchase contracts, buyers are given a limited period of time to review information contained in the title commitment, HOA documents, and certain use restrictions affecting the property. If you discover a restriction that makes the property unsuitable for your intended use, you may have the right to object to that restriction. In some situations, if those objections cannot be resolved, you may be able to terminate the contract and recover your earnest money deposit. The key word here is deadlines. These review periods do not last forever. Once the objection period expires, you may lose the right to terminate the transaction due to the title or the HOA restrictions objections. For that reason, don't ignore the HOA and title work documents. Review them as soon as they arrive. Ask your agent or the escrow officer to help to clarify your questions. If you see something that concerns you, notify your agent immediately. And if you are unsure about your review deadlines, ask your escrow officer or escrow assistant to confirm exactly when those deadlines expire. It is always better to ask questions during the review period than to discover a problem after the review period has ended. For example, maybe you plan to park a commercial trailer at the property, but the HOA rules prohibit parking non-residential vehicles. Maybe you plan to build a workshop, but the subdivision rules prohibit buildings under a certain size to be added to the property. Maybe you plan to keep horses or certain type of livestock, but the county restrictions prohibit you from having certain type or certain number of animals on your property. Maybe you intended to use the property as a rental at a later date, but the HOA documents clarify that there is a cap on the number of rental units that could exist at one time in this subdivision. You are not expected to become an attorney, title expert, or HOA expert. However, if you see a restriction that would prevent you from using the property the way you intend to use it, the sooner you know and your agent knows, the better. Week 1 is also the time to begin shopping for homeowners insurance. Even if your lender recommends an insurance company, it's usually a good idea to obtain multiple quotes. Different insurance companies can offer dramatically different premiums, deductibles, and coverage options for the exact same property. As insurance quotes arrive, don't be afraid to ask questions. The cheapest quote is not always the best quote. Another important task during week 1 is identifying where your closing funds will come from. You do not need to move money yet. In fact, before moving significant funds between accounts, speak with your lender first. For now, simply identify where the money is currently located. Will your down payment come from checking, savings, an investment account, a retirement account, a gift from a family member? Knowing the answer now will make the next several weeks much easier. If you expect to travel before closing or believe you may be unavailable on the expected signing date, notify your lender, title company, and agent immediately. Remote signing arrangements are usually much easier when they are planned weeks in advance rather than days in advance. Let's finish with a quick week 1 executive summary. If you've watched the entire video, this will serve as a review. If you skipped directly to this section, these are the most important things you should accomplish during your first week under contract. First, make sure you know the names and contact information of the major people involved in your transaction. You should know who your loan officer is, who your loan processor or transaction coordinator is, who your escrow officer is at the title company, who your insurance agent is, and how to contact your real estate agent. Second, verify that your lender has received a fully executed copy of the contract and that your lender and agent have each other's contact information. Third, if you're obtaining a loan, confirm that underwriting has started and ask your lender what major milestones they expect over the next few weeks. Fourth, ask your lender about the expected appraisal timeline and whether there is anything that could delay ordering the appraisal. Fifth, complete and return the buyer information sheet as soon as the title company sends it to you. Sixth, begin reviewing any title commitment documents, HOA documents, resale certificates, or restriction documents as soon as they arrive. Do not wait until the last minute. Ask your escrow officer, escrow assistant, or agent to explain anything you don't understand. Also ask them to confirm the deadlines for title objections and HOA objections under your contract. Seventh, begin gathering homeowners insurance quotes. Try to compare more than one company before making a final decision. Eighth, identify where your closing funds will come from. You do not need to move money yet, but you should know whether the funds are coming from checking, savings, investments, retirement accounts, or gift funds. Ninth, if you expect to travel before closing or believe you may need remote signing, notify your lender, title company, and agent immediately. And finally, if you have not already done so, request a copy of the guide called How to Save Thousands Before, During, and After the Purchase of Your Home. Many buyers save significant amounts of money simply by understanding the opportunities described in that guide before they reach closing. If you've completed those tasks, then you've had a productive first week and your transaction is progressing exactly as most successful transactions do at this stage. In the next video, we'll discuss week 2 and what to expect as title work, HOA review, loan processing, and closing preparation continue moving forward. As you can see, real estate is one of those businesses where details matter, sometimes a lot. That kind of strategic thinking is exactly what we focus on at 7X Group with Elena Garrett. Every client, every property, every detail, carefully analyzed so you can make the smartest move possible. And if we could ask for just a moment of your attention for something personal. In addition to her real estate work, Elena Garrett is also an animal foster care provider with the Dallas Animal Shelter, which means she takes in animals that are at immediate risk of euthanasia. Many of them come from very difficult situations and simply need time, care, and a chance to recover. Your real estate decisions are about your future, your finances, your family, and the life you're building. You deserve strategy, careful analysis, and someone who is fully invested in helping you make the smartest move possible. And if you choose to work with 7X Group, every successful home purchase and home sale also helps support the rescue work for Dallas area dogs that need a safe new start and a second chance. Call the number in the description below or visit elenagarrett.com. Thank you for viewing and we will see you at the next video. As you can see,